The pick is in.
The Columbus Blue Jackets have made a selection in the 2025 NHL Draft. I'm Gil Martin, joined now by Jacob Foster of Locked On Blue Jackets. And Columbus has taken Jackson Smith with the 14th overall pick. Jay, were you surprised that they went defense?
I was not even a little bit surprised that they went defense. There've been rumors that they were trying to move up in the draft for basically ages. I was like, oh, they definitely have a big defenseman on their minds. And I think they counted themselves really lucky when Jackson Smith somehow fell all the way to 14th. I had him going in the top 10. So while he wasn't necessarily the pick I would have made, I am unsurprised that Don Waddell did not nearly break a hip running to the microphone to draft Smith.
What does he bring to the table? What stands out in his game?
He is just an excellent all-round defenseman. Like he puts the points up. He is good in his own zone. He's not what I would call like elite at anything, but he is very, very good at basically everything, right? Played in the WHL this year, which is a very difficult league to play in, had 54 points as a defenseman in 68 games, 3-5 in the playoffs. So he puts the points up, but he's also pretty good at getting back in time as well. He's got size, which we know Don Waddell likes to have in his prospect pool. Decent pick.
How about physicality? Does he bring that?
Not as much as I think many people would want. You know, he's never gonna be the guy, I think, that is what's the word I want? He's never gonna throw his weight around for the sake of throwing his weight around, right? I think he's capable of it. But I don't ever think that's gonna be like the biggest part of his game.
What skill does he need to develop the most to become NHL ready?
This is going to be a really boring answer, but I think it's just getting the reps in, right? Like, just keep doing what you're doing and do it over and over and over. I don't think there's anything in his game that I'm looking at and I'm like, oh, that's a real deficiency, right? Like, he can work on his skating a little bit. He can work on his decision-making a little bit. But, like, it's all stuff that I think will come with time. I don't think there's any kind of flaws necessarily in his game. I'm not saying he's perfect by any means, but he's definitely a player that it's putting it together and it's doing it over and over and it's doing it over and over. I would expect him to have a huge year for Tri-City next year, or in the WHL, the players move all over the place. Actually, I might be lying. I believe he's actually committed to Penn State next year, which I think is huge. Obviously, all of the there's been a big thing about CHL players being able to commit to NCAA. To play college hockey, which is great. And I think that's going to be perfect for him. I think that's going to be a great level up for him. No shade to, the CHL, WHL, but I think he's reached his peak playing against other teenagers. And college hockey tends to be a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. So I think that's going to be the perfect thing to kind of step his game up and figure out, if he can play here, he can play at the next level. He can play at the next level, right? I think he's probably still a couple of years away, minimum. But I think what we see from him next year is going to be really, really interesting and really exciting in terms of we're going to know this time next year, we're going to know exactly what kind of prospect he is, I think. Right now, he's still kind of a question mark. I'll have a much better idea this time next year.
All right. Well, for more on Jackson Smith, here's Locked On NHL Prospects.
Is Jackson Smith an underrated defenseman in the 2025 NHL Draft with top pairing upside? I'm Sebastian High from Locked On NHL Prospects, ready to give you a breakdown of his game. Smith is a 6'3" to 6'4" left shot defenseman, 190 pounds. He skates wonderfully, an elite level mover who's physically involved, a really solid rush defender, and he showed a lot more offensive upside as the year wore on in the WHL with the Tri-City Americans. He suited up in 68 regular season games, scoring 11 goals and 54 points, but 9 of those 11 goals came in the last 11 games of the season, a real late season offensive surge for this player. He could grow into a top 3 defenseman in the NHL in the mold of a Thomas Harley or a Travis Steinheim, and will likely need about 2 to 4 years until he cracks the league. For more on Smith and all things NHL Draft, follow and subscribe here at Locked On NHL Prospects on YouTube or wherever you find your podcast.
And for continued coverage of Jackson Smith, check out Locked On Blue Jackets on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.